INS Vikramaditya, whose name in Sanskrit means brave as the sun, began its life in a very different form. Originally built during the waning years of the Soviet Union, the vessel has since undergone one of the most remarkable transformations in modern naval history. From its time as the Soviet Baku to its brief service as Admiral Gorshkov under Russia, this massive Kiev-class warship later took on an entirely new destiny when it was sold and refitted for the Indian Navy. Through a series of diplomatic challenges, technological feats, and extensive sea trials, it emerged as the proud flagship of India, reflecting the country's growing maritime ambitions. Soviet beginnings. Back in 1987, the Soviet Navy commissioned this carrier as Baku, a name reflecting its era and regional significance. When the Soviet Union dissolved a few years later, Baku was renamed Admiral Gorshkov, but the ship's role and upkeep became difficult to sustain in the turbulent, cost-conscious post-Cold War environment. By 1996, the carrier was deemed too expensive for Russia's shrinking military budget and was decommissioned. For a while, it appeared this mighty ship might never sail again, condemned to rust in port. That changed when India, looking to bolster its carrier aviation power, saw an opportunity. After lengthy talks, India and Russia struck a deal on January 20th, 2004, for the purchase and substantial refit of the old carrier. The Indian government recognized that, although the vessel was large and aging, it could become a potent addition to their naval forces if thoroughly modernized. Negotiations and deal details. Negotiations for the Admiral Gorshkov deal spanned multiple years, as the two nations hammered out costs and timetables. Eventually, they arrived at an agreement where the hull itself was provided at no direct cost, but India would pay approximately $800 million for the carrier's upgrade and refit. Additionally, India committed around $1 billion more for the required aircraft and onboard weapons systems. In the early 2000s, India considered equipping the vessel with advanced airborne early warning aircraft, such as the E-2C Hawkeye. Ultimately, they opted not to proceed with that particular option, though a subsequent proposal from Northrop Grumman included the more sophisticated E-2D Hawkeye. The package included 12 single-seat MiG-29K Fulcrum D fighters, 4 dual-seat MiG-29K UB trainers, and 6 Kamov K-31 Helix helicopters specialized for reconnaissance and anti-submarine warfare. Beyond aircraft, the deal provided torpedo tubes, missile systems, and artillery units, along with comprehensive training programs and spare parts. All told, the arrangement promised to shift India's naval power by converting an underused Soviet hull into a modern short takeoff but arrested recovery or STOBAR carrier. Radical remodeling. The most significant structural change involved removing every bit of weaponry and missile launcher equipment from the foredeck. This drastic measure was necessary to convert the vessel from a hybrid cruiser carrier into a fully operational carrier with a ski jump ramp. These modifications made it possible for fighter jets to launch with minimal runway space, employing the ship's arrested recovery systems on the angled flight deck for landings. By the time the conversion was completed, INS Vikramaditya's full-load displacement had grown significantly. Workers replaced or refurbished nearly 1,700 compartments to support new radars, sensors, and cables. Roughly 1,400 miles of new wiring. Elevators were enlarged or upgraded, new arresting gears were installed, and a special arrangement of restraining stands allowed jets to achieve full power right before takeoff. The angled deck included 3 arresting wires, ensuring that returning aircraft could land safely. Delays and cost overruns. From the start, the project faced repeated delays. Initially, the Indian Navy hoped to have Vikramaditya, at that time still undergoing refit as Admiral Gorshkov, in service around 2008, just in time to replace the aging INS Vikramaditya, which was approaching retirement. However, a web of unexpected technical hurdles, a massive increase in needed cabling, and fluctuating costs slowed progress. Tensions arose between India and Russia, leading to sometimes fraught diplomatic discussions. Ultimately, India agreed to invest an additional $1.2 billion, bringing the total investment to more than $2 billion. Russian officials cited market prices and the poor condition of the vessel as factors behind the budget expansion. By 2008, some sources claimed that Russia wanted as much as $2 billion more, fueling rumors that the deal might collapse entirely if India refused to pay. Despite controversies, India remained committed, and the two governments finalized a price of about $2.35 billion by March 10, 2010. A new life takes shape. During the years of refit, every major system on the ship was either replaced or upgraded. The hull alone needed extensive work, including the installation of 234 new sections and about 2,500 tons of steel. The original boilers, which burned furnace fuel oil, were replaced with high-pressure boilers designed to run on low-sulfur diesel. These boilers, each with a steam capacity of about 110 short tons per hour, powered 4 propellers that together produced 180,000 horsepower, propelling the ship to a top speed over 30 knots. The carrier's design also focused on modern living standards for a crew that included female officers for the first time in the ship's history. 2 reverse osmosis plants, capable of producing 400 tons of fresh water per day, were installed, along with updated sewage treatment facilities to meet international pollution standards. 6 new diesel generators supplemented the electrical grid for the modern communication systems, radar arrays, and other high-tech equipment. By late 2010, at least half of the ship's new cabling was completed, and large equipment like engines and diesel generators had been installed. Sea trials and final delivery. Although dock trials began around early 2011, INS Vikramaditya did not begin full sea trials until June of 2012. This initial outing was meant to test all aspects of the carrier's performance, from propulsion and electronics to landings and takeoffs. However, major boiler malfunctions revealed that 7 out of 8 steam boilers had issues, forcing yet another delay. Some Russian sources attributed the problem to low-quality fire bricks used to insulate the boilers, while others mentioned subpar workmanship. In mid-2013, a second round of sea trials began. By late July, the ship had pushed its engines to the limit, achieving around 32 knots, and then moved on to the White Sea for aviation tests. Russian pilots flew MiG-29K fighters and helicopters around and over the carrier, assessing radar, air defense, and communication systems. The trial period spanned about 3 months, covering roughly 19,500 miles at sea. Notably, Vikramaditya's advanced electronic warfare capabilities apparently made the carrier difficult to detect by approaching aircraft. During the trials, a Lockheed P-3 Orion reportedly tried to pinpoint the carrier's location and collect data, but had trouble detecting the vessel until it was quite close. By November 16, 2013, INS Vikramaditya was formally commissioned in a ceremony at Severodvinsk, Russia. The Indian Defense Minister and Russian dignitaries attended to mark a new chapter in Indian naval history. The ship then set sail for its home port at INS Kadamba in Karwar, India, on November 27th. The journey, over 11,000 miles long, included a brief stop in Lisbon before crossing through the Mediterranean Sea, the Suez Canal, and ultimately the Arabian Sea. Operational deployment and Air Wing INS Vikramaditya officially joined the Indian Navy's Western Fleet, becoming its flagship. Its primary fixed-wing aircraft are the MiG-29K fighters, capable of both fleet air defense and strike missions. The ship can carry between 16 and 24 MiG-29Ks, along with about 10 helicopters. Kamov K-31 Helix choppers provide airborne early warning, while Westland Sea Kings for anti-submarine warfare and HAL Druvs for utility duties round out the air group. Because INS Vikramaditya uses a ski jump configuration for takeoffs, it cannot operate a conventional airborne early warning aircraft like the E-2C or E-2D Hawkeye, which require catapult launches. Despite this limitation, the Ka-31s fulfill a similar role. The Indian Navy also tested the indigenous Tejas fighter on Vikramaditya's deck in January 2020, marking a major milestone for Indian aerospace development. Onboard systems and weaponry. Vikramaditya's onboard electronics revolve around LESORUB-E, a computer-aided action information system that consolidates input from various radars and sensors. Meanwhile, the Resistor E system manages air traffic control tasks, ensuring safe approaches and landings. Early on, the ship carried no offensive armament of its own, relying on its battle group for protection. But that changed after a short refit in 2015, when the Indian Navy installed 4 AK-630 close-in weapon systems and a Barak-1 surface-to-air missile system obtained from the retired INS Godavari. Looking ahead, the ship is set to receive a more advanced Barak-8 missile system, giving it improved long-range air defense coverage out to roughly 60 miles. The Indian Navy plans to store up to 48 missiles aboard. With over 70% of the carrier's systems brand new, the ship is expected to serve effectively for up to 4 decades. Life at sea and diplomatic voyages. Shortly after arrival, INS Vikramaditya joined naval exercises with the older carrier INS Virat. Operating 2 carriers at once was a rare accomplishment for the Indian Navy, underscoring the nation's commitment to maritime power. By mid-2014, Vikramaditya was fully operational, participating in war games with the Western Naval Command. That June, India's Prime Minister formally dedicated the carrier to the nation. The ship has also made goodwill visits, including a stop in Colombo, Sri Lanka in January 2016, the first time in decades an Indian carrier had visited that port. It later traveled to the Maldives, again showcasing India's outreach and naval reach in the Indian Ocean region. On board, the crew even has an ATM, making Vikramaditya the first Indian Navy ship to feature such convenience. Continuing evolution. In 2017, the ship underwent another notable refit. During the process, the older Barak-1 system was slated to be replaced by the newer Barak-8 system. Regular maintenance and ongoing modernization remain crucial for an asset of this magnitude. With advanced flight control systems, upgraded communication links, and consistent improvements in automation, the carrier is expected to remain the backbone of India's naval capabilities for decades. Throughout 2024, INS Vikramaditya has been deployed alongside India's first indigenous carrier, INS Vikrant, for multi-carrier operations and major exercises. The synergy of 2 carriers within the same fleet provides a formidable presence, enabling wide area coverage for anti-submarine, air defense, and strike missions. Exercises involving other nations, such as the Italian Navy's carrier ITS Cavour, have expanded the operational scope, building interoperability and showcasing India's rising status on the world stage. Commanding officers. Over the years, INS Vikramaditya has been under the command of multiple officers who each brought unique leadership styles and operational expertise. From Captain Suraj Berry, its first Indian commanding officer at commissioning, to more recent captains who oversaw intricate refits, the ship's lineage of command reflects the Indian Navy's evolving focus on carrier-based operations. Some former commanding officers have advanced to higher ranks, highlighting the importance placed on leading a platform of such scale. Accidents and incidents. Like any major warship, Vikramaditya has faced occasional setbacks. A tragic incident in June 2016, during a refit at Karwar, involved a toxic gas leak in the carrier's sewage treatment plant compartment, leading to the deaths of 2 personnel. Another incident in April 2019 occurred when a fire broke out in the boiler room while heading to INS Kadamba, resulting in 1 fatality and a few injuries. In November 2020, a MiG-29K-B operating from Vikramaditya crashed, claiming the life of 1 pilot. Each event prompted investigations and reinforced the importance of rigorous safety protocols on such a complex vessel. A symbol of India's naval ambition. Today, INS Vikramaditya stands as a testament to what determined negotiation, cutting-edge engineering, and strategic vision can achieve. A once decommissioned Soviet carrier found a second life, bridging Russia's manufacturing know-how and India's aspirations. Though the project came with extensive financial obligations and technical challenges, the result is a fully modern carrier that anchors India's naval might. Its ability to project air power across thousands of miles, support regional security, and participate in multinational operations underscores its vital place in the modern geopolitical landscape. The road ahead. With consistent maintenance and planned upgrades, Vikramaditya is expected to remain a central pillar of the Indian Navy for at least 40 years. As new fighter jets and advanced surveillance drones come online, the carrier's deck might soon host an even more diverse array of aircraft. Each year, improved defensive and offensive technologies, from advanced missiles to sophisticated radar systems, are strengthening its capability. As India's maritime policies evolve, INS Vikramaditya will likely continue to serve not just as a powerful fighting ship, but also as a platform for diplomacy, humanitarian aid, and global military partnerships. In many ways, the journey of this warship encapsulates the changing nature of global naval power. A relic of the Soviet era, the carrier overcame obsolescence, soared past bureaucratic challenges, and emerged with new purpose under the Indian flag. Its story is one of transformation, turning rusting metal into a beacon of 21st-century strength.